Hey, welcome my friends, here we are. It is Chat with Matt. Today's date is the 3rd of, whatever that month is, starts with A, August. Almost said April, 3rd of August. It starts with A as well. It's the 3rd of August, 2022. Here we are coming to you live from my car, which is parked outside the house I am renovating, which is soon to be our new home. We're in changeover, in a bit of a transitional phase where we've still got a month to go. We have to move out of our existing home, e.g. it's sold on the 31st of this month, and so I've got basically 4 weeks. It is exactly 4 weeks. It's Wednesday today. Yeah, 4 weeks to, it doesn't look like we're going to be ready either. To do a bathroom and a kitchen, and the plaster is in there at the moment, plastering the walls, and I'm still putting up more of the linings. But anyway, I'll take half an hour out to chat with you guys, talk about whatever might be serviceful. I can't even say that word. But anyway, anything that might benefit you guys. I'm very happy to answer any questions that you may have. Or speak to any requests. I do have a couple of questions, comments written in ahead of time, which we will start there. I also feel like I need a drink because I've got all of that insulation shit in the back of my throat. So why don't I quickly do that, and then we'll get into this. How you guys going with the energy? It's been rather interesting. Came through a nice new moon a couple of days ago. Quite a few days ago now, didn't it? Was that Friday? Can't remember. Yeah, it's Wednesday now. But there's been that conjunction thing going on too, the Uranus and thing. I was talking about that last week. I think I got it wrong last week. I said it was Saturn and Mars when that wasn't the case. But anyway, I don't know much about astrology, but I do know when shit doesn't feel good, I can usually find a reason to justify why everything's feeling so discordant. But anyway, let's put that aside and we'll move on. Margaret wrote in and asked, I will have to listen to the replay, but my question is, how can I experience more joy? Life has been heavy lately for me, not fun. Lots of work, so more money, leaving me weary. Yeah, hi Jill. Yeah, this is pretty common right now. A lot of people are feeling very heavy because the energy is heavy. Unfortunately, when we feel something, because as empaths, we feel a lot of stuff, right? But we feel the heaviness of the world around us and the heaviness of what's clearing, both for ourselves individually and for the collective and society, right? Stuff's clearing at the moment. That's why it's coming up. And a lot of this sort of work-life balance is coming up for us right now as a society. Like, how much are we willing to keep sacrificing ourselves to live the consumer dream, right? Where we work hard to earn the money to buy a lifestyle that we're told will yield us, quote unquote, the happiness, as opposed to just go live a happy life and not enter into get on the treadmill of basically having to produce a lot. We use a lot of our effort to earn the money to then buy the time to be in some form of recreation or some sort of comfort or some sort of security or some sort of thing that we've been sold is the ticket to our quote unquote happiness. This sort of polarization where we have to sacrifice ourselves in order to buy our happiness, and therefore, we're not happy doing not everyone, of course, but a lot of people not happy doing the job that they're doing. They're only doing it because, they say, oh, I quite like my job. But the truth is, if they had the money and they didn't need to go to work, they wouldn't be doing this, right? This is not something they'd choose to do if they didn't need the money. So, in other words, it's sacrificial, right? It's basically slavery in order to buy your freedom or your happiness or your survival, right? Some form on the hierarchy of needs there. So life has been heavy for you and for most of us, really, because we're feeling a lot of heaviness. The issue we have is we tend to personalize it. So you're feeling a lot of heaviness because there's a lot of heaviness in the atmosphere, and then you are, of course, equating the feelings that you are having to your own life. So you choose to, blame your life on the heaviness that you are feeling. And that's And that's very, very normal. Yeah, Jill said it's like being on a carousel, round and round and round, not getting anywhere. That's exactly it, right? Producing and consuming, producing and consuming. You're not getting anywhere, but the person who, the hierarchy is, the top of the pyramid is skimming on every transaction. They're making money on your earnings and they're making money on your expenditure. So they're doing really well out of this system because they're scraping the barrel. They're also, energetically profiting off your fear, off your dissatisfaction, off your compliance as well, of the whole thing where you are choosing to do what they are suggesting you need to do in order to survive. They basically got the power over you. So the point is to let go of making it wrong that you're feeling weary at the moment, and also choosing, to choose to experience more joy. This is it. They're hard decisions to make when we are being, offered more work, which then allows us to get more money. It's very easy to think that we should, right? I have temporarily lost Marie again, Susie. She's gone to Bali for reasons, which I don't particularly want to talk about here. But anyway, she's gone over to be with a friend, which is important for her. And, well, yeah, she's a friend of both of us. But anyway, so yes, despite the fact that we're quite busy here, Marie is over in Bali at the moment. And Marie enjoys Bali, so there's nothing wrong with that. And, we've got a retreat there next year, so it's good to go over and reestablish connections with retreat venues and etc. And I was talking to her last night. Definitely is very hard for the Balinese still in terms of their business, because they were, I think the number was something like 86% of their economy was tourism, and that's basically been stopped for over 2 years now. So it's only just starting to trickle back in. It's still very, very quiet there, and a lot of stuff is shut. So that's unfortunate, very unfortunate and Bali's not alone. There's a lot of economies, a lot of tourist operators, even in New Zealand, etc., that have suffered greatly through this period of reduced freedom. Anywho's, so yeah. Choose not to make it wrong that you're feeling weary, Margaret, and everyone else, because life has been heavy lately. And the point is not to overly blame your own personal circumstances for feeling heavy. You're not alone, and it's not your failing, and it's not your error necessarily that it's so heavy. Because when you can take away the level of wrongness that you're applying to the heaviness, it's actually easier to shift the heaviness. When you can just see it with awareness for what it is, it actually makes it easier for you to expand beyond it, so that you can still feel the heaviness as an empath, but not allow it to be you, so that you choose not to label yourself as weary or heavy or tired or whatever, but you can say, well, I'm feeling that and I'm choosing joy anyway. Joy is a choice, and of course, when we choose joy, we also are inspired to choose actions that align with our joy rather than actions that align with a fear-based mentality like, oh, there's work available, I should take that because having money's good, quote unquote. And I'm not saying having money is not good, but if we're overly sacrificing ourselves to gain the money, and feel like, doing the do to get money is antagonistic to our joy, then that's not a great choice to keep making, right? Susie said, I found if I visualize something uplifting in the future, it pulls me out of the depression, maybe. Depressive love. Yes, choose joy. Yeah, so exactly. We can definitely use various mentalities to remind ourselves that what we're going through currently is transitional and it is transformative, and it is part of a process, which helps us to maintain an empowered attitude towards it, right? If we can see that something's leading, and like it's a little bit, it can be a little bit dangerous for some people to keep putting their happiness into the future, but at the same time, there's nothing wrong with remembering where you're going in the future. So it's a little bit of a delicate balance, but we can definitely use visioning into the future to help us go through to maintain resilience at going through whatever's showing up in the now, in our current situation. But just be aware that we don't, always choose to sacrifice our now moment to put it into the future. Yeah, I know exactly where you're coming from, Susie, but it's just trying to. I've got my friggin' work glasses on and I can't find my better ones, so I'm just struggling to read this a little bit. Jill wrote, how can you tell when you need to lift yourself up, when you need to go and have it, or when you need to go and have a snooze? I don't think you can fail either way, Jill. I think what's important is to recognize that neither of those options is wrong. And if you choose to go and do some exercise or do something that's uplifting, then trust that. And if you still feel tired after it, go and have a snooze. If you choose to go and have a snooze. And if you wake up still feeling groggy, maybe you need to go and lift yourself up. So this, you know what I mean? It's not one or the other. It's not that, one choice is the right choice and the other choice is the wrong choice. Be willing to, be willing to just trust that if you feel to go for a sleep or a snooze, then just do it without second guessing yourself, thinking, or maybe I should be going out and doing some exercise. If the snooze doesn't work, then go and do some exercise, right? Don't make these choice points so important, right? Don't make any decision doesn't have to be, the right one. I think letting go of the right decision and the wrong decision is an outcome that's really very, very empowering for us, because so many of us are contracted around this idea of not wanting to make a mistake, not wanting to get it wrong, wanting to get it right first time, wanting to do it the best way. There is no best way, So, hey, Sister Julie Ray, I think I was messaging you something similar this morning. Don't get too caught up in trying to make the right decision. Just make a decision and be happy with it. And if it doesn't work out, then make another decision. The universe will keep giving us choices. We can't really mess this up where you missed your chance and that's it. You've done it for life. Because that level of stress is just going to contract you, and you're not going to make any decision well if you're thinking that every decision is really important. The more relaxed you can be around making your decisions, the more intuitive you're going to be in making your decisions, and the easier decisions are going to get. And if you can maintain a mentality that any decision you make is going to lead to your best outcome, then whatever outcome arises, you are going to choose to assume is for your best. And from that, you let go of the judgment that you place upon yourself. You let go of the self-criticism. You let go of all the things that diminish your vibration, and you can cope much better with whatever outcome arises, and then choose again and keep learning from it, keep evolving from it, keep growing from a succession of decisions that you make, even if the first one or the second one or the third one or the 10th one didn't lead to your ultimate best outcome. You keep choosing to assume, keep choosing to believe that whatever outcome is arising is for your highest and best good. So it's a learning process, or it's a purification process, or it's an evolution. And if you keep taking the wrongness away from yourself and from the decisions you're making, if you choose not to go back in hindsight and think, oh, I should have done something else differently, then you're going to progress much more quickly than being self-critical on yourself and then being even more contracted. Sorry, I've got that stuff coming up in the back of my throat. Insulation crap. Then you're going to make your next decision much more easily, and it's more likely to lead you. You basically live more in joy when you stop judging yourself and stop trying so hard to quote unquote get it right. We've got a saying, do you want to be right or do you want to be happy? And I'm not saying that you can't be happy and right at the same time. But this contracted rightness that people's mentality holds, that there's a right and a wrong, basically robs us of our joy, because we're we get so contracted around basically trying to make the right decision from a point of analysis to start with, and then wanting to verify that we've made the right decision, and analyze and compare in hindsight the decision we made with all of the various possibilities or potentials that were available. It's just not fair on yourself, right? It's just, it really is quite unkind. It's never going to end well when we get into that mentality. And unfortunately, that's the mentality that we're all trained into. Our schooling system, our education system, our whole society is very much, conditioned around right and wrong and making the right decision and the best decision and analyzing things and trying to understand things. You can't understand. You can't understand all of the intricacies, all of the nuances in the potentials that are available and how things are unfolding and how the succession of decisions or actions that you're taking is going to lead you eventually to the outcome that you desire, right? Your freedom, your empowered purpose, etc., etc. You can't understand that journey, so stop trying to and just let it happen, right? Because the more that you try to understand it, the more that you contract around everything you're doing, you just slow the whole thing down. The more that you can just flow with it, the faster and the more effective and the more efficiently you will get there. So hopefully that helps, Margaret. It is true that life has been heavy, and really you can experience more joy by choosing more joy and choosing to relax as best you can around what you are doing. I'm not saying you have to give up doing the work. Just do the work with a different attitude, really, and allow yourself to accept that it is heavy right now and that's not necessarily a bad thing. And we can be joyous and heavy at the same time. We really can. It's just what level are we being joyous at and what level are we feeling the heaviness at? And the more that we can expand out of making the heaviness our reality and just understand that the heaviness is an experience we're going through and make the joy our reality, then the better off we are. Jill asked, and this is a question for everyone, are other people repetitively losing things all the time? I keep putting letters or objects down and they sort of instantly, I'm going to try, yep, and they instantly vanish. It's like a filing cabinet eating the documents, feeling I'm being forced to change priorities, I guess. If I can't find it, I move on and look again later. It took 3 months to find my passport. Yeah, I think we're definitely all going through a process where our mind isn't working the way it used to. Our brain isn't working the way it used to. We are in a transitional period where the intellect is losing its dominance over our operation. We're all moving more into the heart. And to do that, the mind has to sort of move aside. And in that process, I'm definitely finding that tasks that we used to rely on and used to find quite simple, like remembering things and remembering where we've put things and remembering what we're in the current moment of doing, were quite simple and now don't seem so simple. And rather than getting caught up in, believing that it's, cognitive decline, well, it is cognitive decline, but it's not something going wrong. I believe it's part of the process of something going right, which is basically the mind letting go of its controlling nature so that we can be more heart-based. Over time, I do 100% believe that the mind will come back online and allow us to do those remembering type tasks more effectively, or some other mechanism. Maybe we'll be able to, intuitively find things much more easily without actually having to use the mental process of filing away, storing away the image of where we left it so that we can recall that easily. I'm not sure, but I do believe we will be quite, in the future we will be functional on all levels, but not as mentally constrained and more heart-based. But in the process of transformation, we go through these times where nothing seems to be working terribly well. We haven't developed the skills to intuitively find what we've lost yet so easily, and we can't mentally remember where we've put them. So, yeah, I get it, Jill. I think a lot of us in that, I have to be very, very careful these days. I almost forgot this live stream, for example, and I was in there with the plaster and I said, Nev, what's the time? And he said, you know, because I basically panicked about 20 minutes ago because we've been in this, you know, for over an hour. We started at 8, and I said, shit, what's the time? Have I forgotten to do my live stream? And it was only 20 to 8, 20 to 9. And then, you know, so I go, oh yeah, great, I've got time. And then, you know, at 1 minute to 9, I'm still in there just about to put a sheet on the wall. And I realized, oh shit, that live stream. Grasping for my phone, drop my tool belt and come running out here. You know, in the space of 20 minutes, I'd forgotten again that I was doing this live stream. So I have got in place, you know, calendars and reminders and all the stuff that works quite well when I'm at home, but doesn't work so well necessarily when my whole schedule has been turned upside down and I'm on a building site again. Anywho, so yes, I believe that is normal, Jill, and not to worry too much about it. Worry about anything's not beneficial in general. Anyway, Sister Michelle asked a question as well. Oh, no, it's not a question because she says, hi, Matt, not really a question, just where I am today. I don't know a lot about history, but I think the setup was the leaders living in their castle with their riches and luxury and dictating to us, the peasants, the working class, who are trying to live a good life and survive from where we are in the scheme of things. I don't think the situation has changed. No, I would agree with that. The situation definitely hasn't changed. Therefore, I'm thinking I don't want to give any more of my energy into standing up for this or that, or fighting to not comply, etc. I just want to go and live my life and get out of the chaos going on out there. I'm not saying I will give in and comply with things I don't agree with, but what's the sense in fighting against something that seems to have been happening since forever? Michelle, this is spot on, right? Fighting against it only feeds those in power. So, you know, the thing is, we don't fight against something to not comply with it. We just choose to go and live our life, and that is non-compliance. They actually want us to fight. Compliance is when we fight, right? That's their ultimate desire, is to keep us fighting. That's why they keep dividing us up. That's why they're making the world so divisive at the moment, to inspire fight. So the rebellious thing to do, the non-compliant thing to do, is to not fight. That's exactly what we're all needing to do right now. That is exactly the way forward right now, is to choose to stop fighting and to go and live a good life. That is actually not complying. That's not complying with their desire, because they want to keep you sacrificing yourself. They want to keep you in fear. They want to keep you worrying about this and that and fighting against what you perceive as wrong. When you choose to give up right and wrong, they lose their power. And those beings who are in the castle living in riches and luxury lose their ability to keep skimming the power when we choose to just go and live our good life. As long as we're fighting against something, then they're going to be in power. So let go of this idea that to not comply is requiring you to fight against something. That's not the case at all. Non-compliance is you choosing to live your best life on your terms, and not to get dragged into doing what you are supposed to do, but just do whatever you feel to do from your heart, from your soul, and what feels most expansive to you. That is exactly how not to comply, and how to gain our freedom, and how to inspire the whole population to wake up. We don't need to fight. We don't need to fight. We have to understand there's a difference between not complying and fighting. You know, it's a peaceful revolution, like Mahatma Gandhi, you know, led India to victory over the British dominance back in the 40s. It was done through peaceful non-compliance. People just choosing to stand in their power. That's exactly right. Mary said, a life well lived is the best revenge. This is it, right? It's to choose to be loving when they're trying to inspire fear. It's to choose to not give an F about their rules, and to just go and do what feels appropriate without making it a fight. I know it feels kind of like we're fighting because we're going against normality, and that can feel like a bit of a fight. But the point is not to make it a fight in your mind. It's just to choose to do it because it feels like it's the best thing to do for you, right? And you just take the mentality away that you're needing to actually fight against anything, and you're rather just choosing to show up, advocating for your best life, right? Advocating for yourself. You're deserving and worthy of having your best life. And so to achieve that, we need to advocate for ourselves. We need to choose in favor of ourselves. That's not necessarily fighting against anything, but it can be, rebellious, and it definitely looks like non-compliance with the dictates that are being presented. So yeah, trust yourself in that, and let go of this idea that you should be fighting in order to be right. This is, we talk about planned opposition, and this is how, various, sections of society have been railroaded. People who are choosing not to fit in with normality have sort of found themselves into different organizations, right? And have become activists, or have become, angry. Anger's fine, but the idea of having to fight against, right, has been indoctrinated. And you look at the Black Lives Matters movement and stuff like that, right? Instead of being proactive or advocating for racial tolerance, they basically went and fought against, and they basically they drove a wedge of division in even further into racial relationships under the guise of fighting for, equality. It doesn't work. It doesn't work. The more that we can just advocate for the outcome we desire without fighting against what we perceive as wrong is how we're going to move forward. Jill wrote, I didn't comply with the hospital ER when they asked me if I'd do a PCR test. I just said, no, thank you. Quite politely and firmly. It surprised them, but they just walked away. Yeah, exactly. So it's, you don't need to fight. You don't need to justify yourself. You don't need to make a big song and dance about why they are wrong. I can well imagine the Black Lives Matters is a corporation, and, it's got all sorts of different agendas, but it was just an example. There's lots of this, environmental activism, all of the climate change activism. There's all sorts of infiltrations. A lot of spiritual groups the same, right? I was talking last week about a very spiritual group. These different wedges of egoic sort of division are driven into a lot of organizations that are purportedly working for good outcomes, but they're doing it in ways that keep the divide and aren't very effective in achieving the aims of what people are gravitating towards these organizations to start with, right? People feel in their heart that they want a better world to live in, so they go and work for an organization that is purportedly, fighting against the badness in the world. But in doing so, they create a purpose around fighting badness, and whatever your purpose is, the universe will always keep giving you that. So the badness will always be there to fight against, right? To fulfill your purpose of fighting against badness, rather than advocating for the rightness, the goodness, what you want. In which case, if you make that your purpose, then the universe will give you that rightness and goodness to keep advocating for. And the actions don't have to look particularly different, but it's the attitude at which we're going at it with, right? Fight is a fear-based response to the world, and disempowered response, and advocation and choosing to not comply in a loving way is much more abundant and love-based. Anywho, friends, what else? I'm just trying to get my computer to open up again. I've probably done my time here, so I may just get back to work. I'll go back to work now. If you guys, any more questions, I apologize if I missed anything here with my dodgy glasses. Anyway, I'm not going to start scrolling through that. It's boring. Julie Ray, I just found I have a relevant anniversary quote on Facebook, everything that happens is an opportunity to learn something. We need to know that we could not easily fully realize another way. Yeah. Wisdom from a spirit guide elder friend. Exactly, Julie Ray. Exactly. The more that we can just accept that everything that's showing up is showing up to help us, the better off we're going to be. And it makes it much easier to make decisions when we let go of the idea that there's a right decision and a wrong decision, and just trust that whatever decision we make is going to yield the next beneficial experience for us, and therefore we'll just keep progressing. All right, we just let go of judging things in hindsight, and we just trust that everything is evolving the way that it, quote unquote, best should. And life gets joyful in that, right? Life gets joyful. I know a lot of people would contract and say, no, but I really want the outcome. It's kind of like, true happiness is when the outcomes don't matter anymore. A lot of people think to be happy, you need to have the outcomes that you think align with happiness. But honestly, when you become happy, then every outcome is aligning with happiness because you're maintaining that attitude towards it. And then ironically, of course, things do get a lot better. And you can have some of those things that used to be on the want list, but now are just naturally coming to you because you've aligned with it energetically. And ironically, you don't need it anymore. You don't need the yellow Lamborghini in order to be happy because you've already chosen happiness. Therefore, the yellow Lamborghini can come and go as it pleases into and out of your life, and you can get to enjoy it without you needing it. Because the point is, even if you get the yellow Lamborghini, and of course, yellow Lamborghini is just the fucking stupid example. Even if you get the yellow Lamborghini and think that that's where your happiness is, you're going to be so contracted around needing to keep the yellow Lamborghini and protect the yellow Lamborghini that you don't truly get to enjoy it because you're in so much need of the yellow Lamborghini because it represents your happiness. As long as you're in that disempowered relationship with whatever it is, and it might not be a yellow Lamborghini, it might be, a lover, or it might be whatever, your child's education. It could be anything, right? But as long as you're in need of it because that's what you think you need to be happy, you never get to enjoy it because it's too important for you, and you need to always be in protection mode of it. We have to choose our happiness inherently within ourselves, and then we can have all sorts of outcomes and get to enjoy them very, very in much more freedom. So, Jill Rudd, I accepted an offer on my house today. Hooray. I was about to give up. The right buyer just showed up. Abracadabra. Perfect, Jill. I love that. And that's exactly it. It's amazing how many things just show up when we're about to give up, right? When we let go of needing something, we let go of the desire, and then it just shows up because we've created space, and we've let go of the contraction, and we've let go of the need. Outcomes don't follow needs. Outcomes follow energetic alignment. And if we want freedom, we have to choose freedom. We can't buy our freedom by achieving it through contracted efforts to gain what we think is necessary for the freedom or the happiness or the whatever it is, financial success. Anyway, my friends, I am going to get back to work. Much, much love to you all. I'll speak to you again next week, if not before. Bye for now. Bye-bye.